are back on Double Tap TV talking all things 5G. Mark Aflalo and Stephen Scott with you. Stephen, let's dive into the history of 5G a bit, and to do that, let's welcome our guest this week. He's the Executive Vice President of Vancouver's Ternium Technology Group, but prior to that, he's been consulting major telecom companies in North America for the better part of a decade and has been designing networks and infrastructure that we rely on today. Sandeep Beyond, thanks for joining us this week on Double Tap TV. Let's talk about mobile tech to begin with and look back a bit. What do you think has been the biggest technological breakthrough or the biggest technological jump that's impacted us in that space today?
So I think the biggest jump was going from 3G to 4G. And the reason for that was for the LTE experience, meaning that we were able to transit data over those 4G networks. Now, it's not the kind of capacities we're talking about in terms of 5G, but it was a massive jump. It was what gave wireless fat pipe, quote unquote, fat pipe to smartphones, which is really what ushered in the whole rage of iPhones and Samsungs and Android and that entire war. But without having the actual network infrastructure to actually be able to carry that network, none of this would exist. Like, you wouldn't be able to watch TikTok while you're in the washroom, right?
So thinking about those pipes, as you call them, what would we not be able to do today without them? I mean, we rely so much on wireless technology, not just to watch TikTok videos. I'm thinking more about medical, military even. Where would we be as a people today without them?
We would be where we were, 30 years ago, right? Where everybody was going outside and playing, and parents would be telling their kids, come home when the streetlights come on, as opposed to picking up the cell phone and tracking them and figuring out where they are. So yeah, there's been a huge shift in the way we socially as a people address how we interact with technology or what we use technology to do with. So for instance, this example with the streetlights, right? When I was a kid, I would say, okay, come back when the streetlights turn on, right? It was a thing. The streetlights went on at a certain hour. It wasn't defined by solar panels and photoelectric cells. It was defined by, the city turns on the lights at this time, come home, right? And so it's a same example of the exact same thing. Now it's solar panels or photoelectric cells that are turning the streetlights on, as opposed to someone flipping a switch or a computer flipping a switch. But to the same token, it's the same functions that we are doing. What we're now able to do with these newer technologies is get a little bit deeper, slice a little bit more thinner, and make life, I don't want to say better, but make it more exact. So for those people that want that little piece of finesse that they can actually bring into their lives, like whether it's, I want to track my daughter or my son, or I want to know where, how long it's going to be before my boyfriend or girlfriend shows up, right? This is the technology that we have now. It's not something that was before where you could say, yeah, I'm just around the corner, but really you're like a block away. No, you can just send a location pin, right?
Sandeep, internet access is seen by many now around the world. It's actually even classified in some places as an essential service. What goes into developing that infrastructure for something like 5G? I mean, you can't just flip a switch and turn it on, right?
No, it's not something that you flip a switch overnight. And that's one of so for instance, if you look at the LTE network or the 4G network, right, it was hard cables, towers, a lot of hard work and physical infrastructure went into it. The interesting thing about 5G, and this is what we do at Ternium or our Ternium Technology Group, is we deliver software-defined networks. And so that's a component of the entire network stack, but doing it all on a software basis. And there's what they call SDN, which is software-defined networks, which are being used to define these 5G cores. So the 5G cores are really what the carriers are looking for to figure out a way to deploy quickly, inexpensively, and be able to manage everything that they're currently doing. And so the idea of 5G is amazing in terms of capacity, bandwidth, latency, delay, that kind of stuff, which means there are a lot of really fine-tuned things that you can do, like healthcare, automotive, automated drones, things like that.
5G is supposed to help connect our rural communities better and help connect our country better. Rural areas have less available internet. They could benefit from, 5G technology because it's hard to physically connect them with wires. So, others who have internet now and aren't at an issue where they're, lacking connectivity, they're happy. They might not be as excited about 5G. So what's really the big deal when it comes to 5G?
It's not being done all hardware. It's being done with software now. And the software component is really what's allowing the 5G networks to accelerate in terms of expansion. Yes, in a rural area, you're going to need to have a tower. But because of the way 5G is defined, and because of the capacity and because of the frequency of signals, it can travel further and deliver more bandwidth. And so because of that, you can actually have quite a bit more distance between the towers. So you don't need as much tower density. It can be less. And then in terms of core infrastructure, in terms of things of doing what we call backhaul in the industry, where the information hits the top of the tower, comes down, and then is sent out over the internet, now having an infrastructure that's all completely software defined, and to have that layer 3 network that will carry everything for you, that's a massive benefit for the telcos because it's easier for them to deploy, and they can deploy it quicker, which means that at the end of the day, they're going to be able to deploy things quicker if they adopt the newer technologies. And that's what's happening right now.
Obviously, specific industries stand to use 5G more than others. Healthcare, we talked about, for example. The idea of a doctor on the other side of the country performing a life-saving surgery sounds incredible in another part of the country. But aren't there security issues here? A line can't go down when that is happening.
Right, sure. And I agree with you 100%. So, the industry that are going to benefit the most immediately, of course, are going to be telemedicine. It's going to be distance learning. Going to be automated machines or autonomous machines, if you will. So whether that's your Tesla, your car, or whether it is a food delivery truck, or whether it's a drone that's dropping off a package, right? That kind of telemetry is going to be very, very important. And the reason that's going to be important is because there still need to be human operators that are watching these things, at least for now. We're not at the point where we can let these things fly by themselves, which means you've got an operations center filled with people that are watching 10, 5, 50, 1,000 drones or whatever going on simultaneously. And their job is to manage what's going on there, whether it's the traffic, the airspace, any of that kind of stuff, where they're transiting. And that's just on the autonomous side. On the healthcare side, you want to be able to have a surgeon who is in a helicopter flying up to, Whitehorse because he's doing a specialized surgery, and having somebody in Montreal, say, for example, actually doing the surgery live while he's watching before he actually gets there.
Sandeep, I hope you're okay to stick around because we're just scraping the surface here with this conversation, but we need to take a quick break. We are in conversation with Sandeep Panesar from Vancouver's Turnium Technology Group all about 5G. When we come back, let's look ahead and let's try and predict a 5G future. This is Double Tap TV. We're back in just a moment.
Love Double Tap TV? Listen to AMI Audio for Double Tap Canada every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for news and reviews on everything tech. This is Double Tap TV.
We are talking all things 5G this week on Double Tap TV. Thank you for getting involved. Just a reminder, our email address is feedback@ami.ca. On Twitter, it is @DoubleTapCanada. And if you use the hashtag AskDoubleTap, we always get to your questions. And we're on Instagram now. If you look us up, it's @doubletap.online. Mark Aflalo and Stephen Scott with you. We are in conversation with Sandeep Panesar, Executive Vice President at Vancouver's Turnium Technology Group.
For me, Sandeep, 5G means the potential for something huge in my life. And I mentioned it at the top of the show. It's the possibility that I could one day own a car. Now, I know as a blind guy that might sound a bit odd, maybe even a bit ridiculous, but I am in fact talking about autonomous vehicles here, cars that drive themselves. But the question is, what's the reality here? What hurdles lie in the way between me and that possibility at this stage?
So I think it's happening now. I think we're starting. There have been bunch of false starts. As with anything in technology, there will always be false starts. But those false starts, if we don't have them, it is what we learn from. And so I think that that drives the success or the progress of not just socially but technologically, and it creates that desire to improve. And it really takes just one organization, one company, one group to come together and say, here's the standard that we're going to impose or produce, that will be what everyone will drive on. And once you have that standard, then you've got the network, it's already there. You have an ability to ensure that connections and connectivity are always already there. And so then what ends up happening is you can have someone who is blind, quote unquote, go for a drive by themselves, autonomously for themselves, and be self-empowered to be able to go do groceries and things like that. Things like, automated stores and all that stuff that come out of the 5G that allow you to walk in and walk out, grab what you want, be able to do that. It's a completely different world. It's now a tactile world, and yet it's completely accessible to absolutely everyone. And that's the other thing, and you hit the nail right on the head. Like, this 5G will bring, at least in this first stage, immense accessibility. And in terms of time frame and scale, we're not far out. We are very, very close to getting this all done now. I think everybody can smell it and feel it and almost taste it, if you will.
We're talking today about 5G, obviously, but in your position, Sandeep, you are getting to peek behind the curtain of what's coming down the line. What excites you personally?
I'm a tech head, geek, nerd, whatever you want to call it, by birth, I guess, or by birthright, whatever you want. I'm an engineer. I've been doing this for umpteen years, and I'm older than I look. But for me, the big excitement is, what are the possibilities? And the fact that we're generating all of these wonderful possibilities, the excitement is, who's going to create what first? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be someone else? Is it going to be Turnium? Is it going to be another company? Like, this is where it becomes exciting, because we have an opportunity to not just take what it is that we are currently doing, but look at what's happening out there in the industry and potentially even improve lives. And that's, to me, that's the most exciting thing.
Aren't we all just tech heads? At least I can speak for myself and Stephen. Thanks, Sandeep. That is Sandeep Panesar from Vancouver's Turnium Technology Group this week on Double Tap TV.